Joe and I have to fuel up before a game. Nachos. Plant your flag and make sure you pay close attention, as we will bend over backwards for you to bring you all the best stuff. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. It's always important to get a little fuel in your stomach before a game, and those nachos hit the spot.
Very true, and that was a fun one on Tuesday night at the Ice Forum.
Yep.
Hadn't been at the Forum yet this year, our crew, so it was good to be there, and a fun game ensued. But this one's a super short show. This one very skinny on highlights, but we are going to try and wrap up as much of the Cardinal action as we possibly can. We start with the boys hockey team. They only played one game last week after Tuesday's game was postponed due to a scary injury to a Cardinal player. They were less than 2 minutes into the game against Tino Grace when junior Jack Engberg went awkwardly into the boards. He was clearly in great pain and distress, and paramedics were on the scene within minutes. The decision was made not to continue the contest, and it led to this touching scene. A couple of Eagles players made their way to center ice to pray for Jack, and soon it was the entire Cardinals team and most of the Totino squad as well. The very full crowd at Crick sat in eerie silence as Jack was attended to and taken out on the stretcher. The good news is all tests that we've heard about have come back negative, and Jack is going to be okay. It was so relieving to get those updates from Coach Brock and from Kurt Walrath that the tests were negative and he was going to be okay. One of the scariest scenes I have ever personally seen in all of these years.
Yeah, I think it is for me anyway. I mean, for the 25 plus years you and I have been doing this together, I don't know that we've seen quite a scene like that. And you had mentioned it, the fact that the arena was just so quiet, it was just so eerie, and we were all praying for Jack and certainly for his family, because obviously I'm sure they felt helpless just being able to not do anything.
Can't even imagine.
However, I did reach out to Coach Brock on Saturday to see how he was doing, and he said he was actually really good. In fact, he was at the hockey game Saturday night. That was so great. That was so
great
cool.
News that he was able to attend the game at the Ice Center on Friday. It was the end of a long homestand for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals gave Jack a thrilling one to see. A 5-4 win for the Cardinals. They had 3 goals in the third period. 5 goals from 5 different players: ALPINE, Golan, Kish, Hazelwood, and Barsness, lighting the lamp to get the Cardinals back to 6-6. And this week they hit the road for the first time in a while. And a big game, too, because Cloquet, for a couple reasons, now is a section opponent. But more importantly, they came in at like 9-3 or
they were hot.
Somewhere around there. They had a pretty impressive record. So that's a big win for the Cardinals. They hit the road this week at Forest Lake on Tuesday and at Anoka on Thursday.
Well, the girls hockey squad had only one game on the schedule last week, hosting conference rival Armstrong Cooper. The Bluebirds came into the contest red hot. They were 6-1-2 in their previous 9 games, and they weren't about to let the Wings slow their roll. CPCR at the Ice Forum for the first time in more than a month, but it felt like home for the opening drop. The Bluebirds controlled the entire first, but they don't light the lamp until the final minute of the frame. Tessa Bowden cleaning up in the crease, her 5th of the year. CPCR power play early in the second. Captain Brooklyn Johnson with a wrist shot. Top shelf start of a huge night for her Bluebirds, up 2-0. Late in the second now, great offensive possession. Lily McKenzie slides it through the slot and finds Shelby Julian. She finds the back of the net to give the home team a 3-goal lead going into the third period. Nice goal there. Now Brooklyn Johnson coming right into your living room. She's looking to pass out front, but it's deflected by the defender, goes off the goalie's glove and into the net. Johnson's second of the game wasn't pretty, but he pretty much sealed the deal. Less than 90 seconds left. Bluebirds pressuring again. Rebound comes to Johnson. She pounds it into a wide open net. Her first career hat trick leads the Bluebirds to an impressive 5-0 win. Maddie Wastrel needed just 14 saves to earn her 3rd shutout of the year. That was an impressive game by them. They played well.
It was. I was a little surprised to hear it was Brooklyn's first hat trick. She's been such a big part of the offensive end of this program all 4 years she's been in high school. But big for them to get a win and get some momentum, because this week is going to be very tough. They host Roseville Matamidi at the Ice Center on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, they travel for a makeup game against number 2 Andover. And then on Saturday, they travel to Minnetonka to take on the number 1 ranked Minnetonka Skippers.
Although Minnetonka did lose to Edina this weekend, so we'll see if that changes at all.
Either way, that's some pretty
it's
serious
so
competition.
unbelievably impressive competition. They're gonna have the work cut out for them for sure.
Absolutely. Well, the wrestling team had a tough schedule this past week with a dual meet on Thursday and a tournament on Saturday. Thursday night, the Cardinals hosted arch rival Anoka. Friday night, hosted arch rival Anoka in the annual battle for the Golden Shoes. The Tornadoes are down a little from previous season, not ranked, but still solidly among the lean and mean. Jack Bridenstine back down to 106 after starting the season at 113, and he's having success, which is good news for the Cardinals. He's able to get them a lead with a decision against the Tornadoes, but that lead was short-lived. Cardinals only managed 3 wins against the Tornadoes. Next doesn't come until 152. Great duck under by Hunter Allen turns it into a headlock and back points. The captain dominates his man on his way to a 14-6 major decision. Carter Skradsky made it back-to-back wins for the home team. Amazing headlock to take his man straight to the mat, and it's only a matter of time from there. He gets the pin in 3:09. He's having an outstanding season. Watch for him to make some noise at sections, but the Cardinals fall to the Tornadoes 60-13.
Yeah, tough one. Only the 3 wins for Coon Rapids in that one, but I think that even though Anoka maybe is down a little bit, not in the top 10. Still a pretty good wrestling
Very,
squad.
very solid wrestling team. They're one of 3 teams in Section 7 that are in that lean and mean. The only Section 7 team currently in the top 12, the Dirty Dozen, as they call them, is Forest Lake, and I think they're down at 11.
Right.
But that's still a lot of power in that Section 7. On Saturday, the Cardinals were at Champlin Park for a duels tournament. They started out against the number 11 ranked team from Shakopee. They lose to Shakopee 54-24. Similar score against White Bear Lake, 51-25 loss. Carter Skradsky was 2-0 on the day with a couple of pins. Skillings was also 2-0 and had 1 pin. They finished the day against the home team, and they had an impressive win against Champlin Park in that 5th place match, a 57-22 victory. Now, the Cardinals did get 4 forfeits where the Champlin didn't present a wrestler, but still, they won 7 of the 10 matches that hit the mat, and they had 5 pins to post that victory, and all of them were early. Hargraves, the only one of those 5 pins that came beyond the first period.
That's impressive. A nice job by them.
Well, and they'll get another chance to see the Rebels on Thursday. Don't know if that lineup will change at all for the Rebels, but that will be a tri-meet along with Albert Lee and Howie.
We'll be there.
Then on Friday, they are at Centennial for a quad meet. Maple Grove, give me a second, Maple Grove, St. Cloud Tech, the other 2 teams at that quad meet. The gymnastics team had a couple events last week, a dual meet against a very tough Elk River team. This kind of talks about the depth and of certain programs. The Elk River JV team scored a 124.
That's pretty
Cardinals
good. That's pretty
down
impressive.
a little bit at the 109. That's a little bit lower than where they had been in previous meets, but they had some time off. Becker was 5th place on the vault, Drummy 4th place on the beam, 5th place on the bars. Barilli was 5th place on the floor. It was a tie with Kaylee Becker. Ada Drummy, though, a 3rd place finish in the all-around, scoring just over 30, and that is pretty impressive considering the competition. On Saturday, they went to Osseo for the superhero meet, and they finished 3rd place out of, I think, 4 or 5 teams, and they really had a nice day. This was 4 teams that were more similarly skilled to the Cardinals. So it was very competitive all the way along. You can see Becker was 2nd place in the vault with Ada Drummy right behind her in 3rd. Drummy was 5th place on the bars. Becker was 5th place on the floor. And Becker was 5th place in the all-around. But a 112.75, getting back to where Coach Habel and the girls want to see those scores. They are at Osseo on Thursday for a dual meet, and then they will be at Anoka on Saturday, and that'll be a tri-meet with the Blaine Bengals. Swimming and diving team took on Armstrong last week, and they scored their first victory of the season in a duel, and this one went right down to the very last event and the very last leg of the last event. They started with a win in the 200 medley relay. They got plenty of first place finishes. Ling had a couple in the 50 and the 100 freestyle. Mitch Tronson was 100 in the backstroke. Really a big one in the 100 breaststroke, because the Cardinals had fallen behind, and that was a big one in helping them get back into position. But they had to win that freestyle, and they went out and they did it. The 400 freestyle, Mitch Tronson swimming a career best anchor leg to give them the victory. After he got into the water down 2 or 3 seconds, he was able to make up that time and really hammer it down on the way home, post his best career time, and give the Cardinals their victory, 94.5 to 87.5. On Saturday, Cardinals hosting the Section 7 AA True Team Championships. They finished in 7th place out of the 8 teams, but Coach Donaldson very happy with the way his guys were swimming. Mitch Tronson picking up a couple of 3rd place finishes. Ling was in 6th in the 100 fly and 7th in the 200 freestyle. Denton a nice finish in getting top 10 in the 100 backstroke. He knew coming in they're not a real contender to be in that title, and they're not terribly concerned about what their times are at this point in the season, but it's a great measuring stick against those other teams and those other swimmers that they will swim against come individual section time.
Yeah, it's always great to read those emails by Coach Donaldson, and he talked about in that event against Armstrong how much Tronson turned it on at the end, to get that victory, and as you mentioned, a career best time for him, and no better time for it to come than to get a win for the squad.
Well, they are hoping that they can add to their win tally. They're at Park Center on Thursday, and then next week they will host Elk River. Nordic ski teams taking part in a sprint relay event last week, and this is big now. As we talked about last season was the first year that they had a sprint classification for state tournaments and relays. So it's another skill, giving more kids an opportunity to try and advance to a state tournament. Aaron Casey, the only one for the Cardinals making it to the finals. Lachlan Demmer had joined him in the semifinals. He was 6th place in his heat in that event. Peyton Martinick was the next highest qualifier, finishing 17th, so just one spot out of the semifinals. And then you see Ludwig and Bauer back in 23rd and 25th. On the girls' side, they had 4 semifinalists and 2 finalists. Stella Bone and Ruby Demmer finished in a tie for 6th place in the finals, just to make it that much more fun. That's an 8th grader and a 9th grader, by the way. Megan Fuller and Kendall Martinick, the other semifinalists for the Cardinals. Radke was not far out, finishing in 24th place. But a little bit different format, and some racers, they really excel at the sprints.
Right.
So it's fun to see how they shake out kind of mid-season. They will be at Elm Creek on Thursday this week and next week as well. Well, we were way off on what the mountain's called.
What a surprise.
Is called Wild Mountain. I needed
Spirit
help.
Mountain.
I asked for help. I got Spirit Mountain. I said, yeah, that sounds right.
It sounds right,
wrong.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, well.
Wild Mountain, but it's not where they were last week, the Alpine ski teams. They were troll hogging for the first time, and all the teams across the board, the times were much slower. I'm guessing the course a little bit more difficult at Trollhagen than it was, because it was every team across the board, everything.
Right.
Van Norman still the top finisher for the Cardinal boys in 65th place. Dylan Bone finished in 69th. Simon was 76th. Jacob Chesser was 79th. And Stroman finished in 82nd place. On the girls' side, a 7th place finish led by a couple of girls getting into the top 30. Staley jumped past Carly Hafferman to take the top spot on the team, but only by 1 spot. They finished 28th and 29th, respectively. Zoe Scheck was next in 55th, with Sides in 63rd, and Stroman in 71st. They are actually at Trollhagen tonight, Monday night.
Right.
For race number 4, and race number 5 will be back at Wild Mountain on Thursday.
It'll be interesting tonight if that rain continues a little bit out there. It might be make it a little more difficult. It's not really icy because of the temperatures, but the rain may make it a little bit difficult.
I'm sure the ski conditions are not exactly ideal from the temperature we've had. Warming and cooling over the last couple of days, but all teams have to deal with the same slope. So, boys basketball team took on Blaine last Tuesday, and this is one I think at the end of the year they may look at and say, wish we could have that one back.
Right.
87-82 loss at the hands of the Bengals. Obviously a conference and section rival. Another great night for Cummings Coleman, 33 points, 10 boards, make it a double-double. You know, Young, Hetwer, and Jones all in double digits for the Cardinals, but they come up a handful short.
Well, they fell behind early, and they had to dig out of a hole, and unfortunately, they couldn't quite get there.
Well, I'm not sure what happened on Thursday night, but or Friday night. Anything can happen on Friday the 13th.
This is true.
And
this is true.
Cardinals gave up 114 points to Andover. Again, 3 guys in double digits. Cummings Coleman a little off his average at just 23 points. Jackson Hetwer a great night at 15 points and 5 boards. Jordan jumps onto the Cardinal leaderboard with 10 points and 4 boards. So, but that's one. I think this week you look at him and you go, that's one we'd like back, and that one we just want to throw that one away and never think about it again.
Well, yeah, and they held Sam Masungu to 9 points in that game. But if you look at the box score, Andover had a lot of players contribute in that game. Again, Ben Kopetsky, I think he had almost 30 points to lead the way.
28, 29, something, I think. Cardinals are at Anoka on Tuesday, and Howie,
we'll be there.
They will host Maple Grove on Friday. Girls basketball team playing the same schedule, and it was a rough go for the Lady Cardinals last week in the conference. They lost to Blaine on the road, 85-31, dropping their record to 1-9. Casey Beck, one of her best games of the season, with 16 points and 8 boards, but not much else behind that. Sophia Smith, I think her best night actually of the season with 8, but behind her just 3 points from Green, a couple each for Schmidt and Bierman. On Friday night, Cardinals back home floor, not any more friendly. Andover will beat them 72-24. The leading scorer for the Cardinals held it just 5 points, and that was both Kaylin Green and Bierman with 5 points each. But
that's a game where
tough.
they only scored 9 points in the second half, and it's difficult. And granted, it's a new system. They're learning things, and it's but they've definitely had a tough road so far.
Well, and again, I go back to it. I did say on this program, if they're going to win just one, let it be Washburn. They beat Washburn,
they did.
And then I came back on this in the same chair and said, let's not let that be the only one.
Correct. Well, let's hope
so. They are hosting Anoka on Tuesday. Anoka 10-3, 11-3,
they're
something
pretty
like
good.
that. They're pretty good. And then they're at Maple Grove on Friday. So we will be taking our show on the road on Tuesday to see the boys basketball team take on the Tornadoes at Anoka. Back at the barn on Thursday for a tri-meet with wrestling between Cardinals, Champlin Park, and Albert Lee. And then we will see the boys hockey team in a matinee effort on Saturday as they take on Spring Lake Park. And that's another one of those games we talk about in that lower tier of the Northwest Suburban. Cardinals have to have their A game. They need to come away with a win.
They do.
On that one.
They really do. Should be fun.
But that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying good night.